Grant Denyer now.
It's Grant Denyer.
The gold logie this year. Oh my God, it's Grant Denyer.
And our mum, Shazzy Daniel. She's really crazy.
It's all true.
It's All True, the podcast with Grant and Shazzy Denya.
Hello, welcome to the podcast. Let's get into the Quickie.
The music hadn't even finished. Oh my God.
Thanks for coming to the Quickie, guys.
And
That was quick.
podcast award for the world's shortest intro goes to George Sargent.
Hey.
I've been stewing on that one all week. Like, fuck, what do I do?
I felt bad that I shamed your intro last time, and it really, I didn't mean to shame it.
You're good on the criticism.
It was a joke because our quickies were getting longer, so I apologise, George. I feel bad. I feel bad for my statement. It was meant nothing as a joke.
And you want to apologise
Nothing
to
but a
me
joke.
for?
15 years of marriage.
Oh, wow. Well, guys, today's topic.
Yes. Is
What piece of advice would you give your 15-year-old self? Now, I'll just straight off the bat kick it off and say that I am 15, basically. It feels like yesterday. I don't have any advice for myself just yet.
I reckon if you thought about it,
Yeah,
you probably
George.
would, mate.
Yeah.
You're actually you're quite a deep individual. I reckon you would. You think
You're
about
right,
yourself when you were younger, and what would you like to have heard?
What were you
then?
doing at 15? Put yourself back into your 15-year-old shoes.
Yeah. I would have definitely actually gone to that radio school and refined my intros for podcasts at 15. Is what I'd do.
I would have said, don't have a flat top and a rat's tail at the same time.
Did you have that at 15? I thought it was 12. That's unacceptable
No,
at that age.
I reckon it was a bit close to 15.
Do you know, at 15, I had do you remember Josie Bissett from Melrose Place?
No.
She was the real beautiful, skinny, blonde girl. She had almost like a bit of a bowl cut. I had that
Sounds
and
beautiful.
Attractive.
playing basketball, and I had big basketball black high top pumps. But I remember
Did you have Reebok pumps?
yeah. And they were black.
I wished we could afford those.
Yeah, I begged and I had to clean the car.
George,
and
these
clean
were a
everything
game-changing
just so
shoe,
that.
mate. They're like a high-top basketball shoe, and in the tongue was like a bubble that you would squeeze, and it would increase the pressure in your shoe. So it would fill air in the tongue, so your foot got kind of nice. It got much more supported and tighter in the shoe, so you could be a bit more agile. It's like the equivalent of doing your laces up, and then you could let the air out.
And it's still
and then it would relax
It's
the
like
shoe.
mold to your foot.
So you go sport mode or
Relax mode.
lifestyle mode.
But it still didn't help me stay upright, because one thing that anybody who knows me very well knows that I trip over all the time, don't I? People would describe me as just walking along, I will trip, do a commando roll and jump back up and keep going. That's just kind of how I roll, and I used to be like that on the
I reckon
basketball
prior
court.
to ADHD diagnosis, yes. But I don't think anymore. I reckon that's actually been one of the little benefits of you now being medicated.
Not sure about that. It was only an hour ago that I tripped over in the shopping centre and did a commando roll and told everyone I was okay as my basket emptied out all over the shops. I used to always put foundation on my skin before I played basketball, and I guess my laugh was because I didn't like my freckles and I felt like I didn't have very nice skin. So my
Why on the
message
basketball
I used to put it on all the time.
Ah.
But I'd always make sure before I played basketball that I had, that I had foundation on. So
Did you have freckles like on your face and your arms too, and your legs? Like, were you foundationing the entire body?
no,
or?
just my face. Just my face, yeah. So my advice to 15-year-old me would be just be yourself. Don't be anything else. And that could relate to so many different things in my life.
Ages.
but yeah.
Every age, yeah.
And my second bit of advice, sorry, I'll just take over, is eat the dessert. And that also pertains to any age, because I always think about, those women on the Titanic and they passed up dessert, before the Titanic sank, and the dessert trolley came around and they were like, no, thank you. I'm watching what I eat. Now, then they died. Like,
I don't remember that bit in the movie.
no, but it's true.
All right, okay.
Yeah. How awful.
And how is that a lesson for now? Because you don't know.
You just
if
don't know what's gonna come
Titanic's going to
next.
sink this afternoon.
You don't
Yeah.
know what's going to happen next.
Right.
So live for the now.
Okay. Okay, I can see where this is
Yeah.
going now because we're not all
Yeah,
going
be
on
in the
cruise
present.
ships today.
No.
And they don't tend to sink much anymore.
No, but like how many times have you gone somewhere? I still, to this day, I always go, no, I should do this and I should do that. Whereas my advice to 15-year-old me was don't take it so seriously, and don't be so busy making the life or creating the life that you're too busy to live it.
Well, that's pretty powerful, mate. That's
Thank
good.
you.
That's awesome.
What did you
I really
come up
like
with,
that.
George?
Oh, well, I'll come back to it. I was just going to say, if this podcast ever did get huge, could we do
when
It's
it
All
gets
Cruise? It's All Cruise. We do the podcast on a cruise.
Yep. And everyone can just come with us.
Is that it's all cruise with a question mark? Like it's all cruise?
Yeah.
It's All Cruise, and it's like the
don't-
question whether it'll sink or not.
Don't have the dessert, otherwise it'll sink. That's the lesson that Shezzy
No, they
wants you to
didn't.
take out of this.
No, they didn't have the dessert, and then the Titanic sank. They didn't have.
Yes, I get the metaphor. It wasn't the not eating caused it to sink. It was like, oh my God, the captain was like, oh God, where did that iceberg come from? If those chicks back there had have eaten dessert, I wouldn't have hit the iceberg.
They would have been
Far
fine.
out.
Well, you know what? He might if they ate all the desserts, he might not have got any dessert. Therefore, he might have been watching where the iceberg was, and he might not have hit it. Solved.
It wasn't really the
Thanks.
captain's fault at the end of the day. It was the old mate from the Ocean Lining Company who wanted to set the record and smash it and told him to go faster than he should through a known ice field that had been pre-reported. But this is also comes back to tempting fate. The universe is a strong entity. And the moment you go, I'm bigger than you, or you can't do this to me, as in you can't sink me, because this was the world's first unsinkable ship, right? That's how it sold itself. And then the universe goes, really?
Well, I don't think that the universe
It's
set
tempting
out
fate.
to want to, go F you. this
Pretty
is
crazy
a-
that the world's first unsinkable ship sank on its maiden journey. Don't you reckon?
We should interview the universe.
Who says?
Yeah, universe.
Who says that that
They
something
got a
is
podcast kit, universe.
unsinkable?
They did.
Yeah, no, but that's just stupid.
Because it was a marvel of engineering for the time in terms of its design and how
That's
strong it
just like-
was and how big it was. It was it was enormous. But there's a lot of theories around, and one is that it had a fire, a very small fire that was just humming away in one of the coal stores where they store all the coal in the hull of the ship, which made the side of the hull of the ship warm and therefore the metal a little bit more weaker, softer.
Ah, right.
So apparently it was quite common for them to have these smouldering fires because coal is so combustible. If stored there, it can actually just self-combust and it can just sort of start to burn, that friction and heat and energy and it wasn't uncommon. But what the theory is, it had a fire in a coal store right in the spot where it struck the iceberg. So what would normally the ship would have sort of deflected off it, just bounced off the iceberg. The metal was all soft and more brittle, and it just ripped like a can opener down the side.
You know what I love about being married to you is that you know an awful lot of shit about shit, don't you? Do you watch a lot of SBS when I'm?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of documentaries on.
What
It
podcasts
shows.
do you listen to?
I listened to the podcast called "Why the Lady Should Have Eaten Dessert on the Titanic." That's my favourite podcast. Look, it's a long
On
title,
the Nova Network,
but
yes.
it's a bloody good listen, to be honest.
Oh, that was quite funny. No.
Well, I can't even remember what this topic is about. What's the theme of this?
What we
do
would
you
say
tell
to our
your
15-year-old
self?
Oh, don't get on the Titanic. is what I would tell my 15-year-old self.
Would you
Yeah.
tell your 15-year-old self don't have sex young?
Whoa, what?
Wow, that's
Don't have
a
sex
bit
young.
invasive.
Why? What age would you classify as young? Like 18, 15, 16?
I'm just waiting for your
25?
response.
Because that was me.
I'm just waiting for your response.
I was a little bit of a late bloomer.
Oh, well, it's not going to matter then, is it? If you're not going to be telling yourself at 15, don't have sex young.
I was
Like-
at 15. I wish I could have sex.
Well, sorry, honey, but your flat top with your plat probably
Oh, is that what it was?
didn't bring them in and
could've
drove.
been.
Jesus. I was wondering why they would run the other direction.
But people are rocking that these days, and I think that's the thing now. Just, weird. Well, sorry, not weird. But alternative haircuts.
Yeah.
The mullet.
Yeah, the alternative haircuts, shaved up the sides with a fair bit of body at the back.
The mullet. Why don't they call it a mullet anymore? I don't know.
I think
they do. There
Oh,
is
do
a
they?
mullet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just do the fade. Keep it long on top and fade on the back and sides.
Do you just
Seems
have
to
the
do trick.
same
Keeps it tight.
haircut all the time? Like you don't ever stray? Have you had the same haircut since 15?
No, it's definitely changed over the years. Like I had the Bieber flick for a little while, like just really long on top, and you just flick your hair and it goes all off to one side.
Did you develop the flick, which looked like it became an actual tick that he couldn't avoid doing?
Yeah.
Looked like it was.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, right.
I had the JB flick going on, and then I sort of went to this boy band haircut that I seem to be liking at the moment. So who knows what it will be in years? Might try and go for a mullet one day.
My 15-year-old self with the bowl cut, I probably would say you're not Josie Bissett. She is a model and she does not look like you, so don't cut your hair like that with braces.
Good tips.
Thanks.
I would have said to my 15-year-old self, don't pash someone else who's also got braces and get locked together.
Does that actually happen?
I don't know. I never did with me, to be honest.
Because you never pashed anyone at 15?
That's true. That's possibly why. She's smart, Australia. That's why I married her.
You know why? Because you're too busy watching your SBS documentaries that you weren't participating in the social
I'll
activities.
tell you what, mate, 32 years later, watching that SBS documentary about how the Titanic sunk just paid off. Because I just dropped bombs on you in this episode, this quickie. Thank you.
You do it all the time. You're the most unassuming book of knowledge.
It's underrated how smart Grant Denyer is, because you're the guy on TV, you're the guy on podcast and radio that's just being a dickhead.
Yep.
And here you are now being a philosopher.
Philosophizing dickhead, I believe it's called.
He actually is like a walking encyclopedia with a lot of knowledge on a lot of different topics that surprises me all the time. And yet he'll still go, how do we catch the mouse?
Oh, mate.
It's like,
In a humane way, because I'm a child of the earth and I care for all living beings. You know what I mean? Just because don't hate me because I'm a good guy.
oh, I don't, I love you.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't feel that way. Did you just play the cricket sound effect?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, it just felt awkward.
Hey, you know what's something I love about this podcast? I love the silence that we sometimes have. Like I really don't mind a bit of silence. Like if we just sat still for a little bit, let's just see how this feels.
Grant's doing licking noises. You and I could not sit next to each other in class.
No.
Look, George is he's really silent.
It's really nice when you're surrounded by sound all day. It's just good to be chill.
Yeah, it
and
really is. I live with 4 girls, sorry. Silence is not something I get
I'm
to
a
experience.
woman, thank you. I'm a woman.
although being silent on a podcast is also probably
Boring.
rather problematic.
Learning how to wrap up a podcast is probably something that we could all work on.
And that's it. Thank you.
It's All True, the podcast with Grant and Shezzy Denyer.
Bye